Good afternoon, everybody. This is Alan Bennett with Bring Home the Bacon podcast. And today, my guest is Austin. Austin's from Northwest Arkansas, and he is the founder of New Way Nut Butter. And I would like for Austin to take a few minutes to introduce himself. Austin, let's hear it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Austin Simkins. I'm the CEO of Natural Way Food Group, and uh, we we're located in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and we've been in business since 2000, March of 2017. It's been almost 7 years. It's kind of hard to believe. And we started. It was my brother and I that started in 2017. I was uh, actually getting out of my MBA program at the University of Arkansas and wanted to start a business, and this is what we started. So I'm excited to be on the podcast today.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming. I was really looking forward to this. One, that we have nuts in my house. We do mixed nuts, we do cashews, we do pecans. So we're all about the nuts. So when you agreed to come on, I got everybody in my family. They were like, "You're not gonna miss that interview today, are you?" I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna miss the interview." So there is an audience waiting for us to have this conversation just in
Cool.
my house.
Awesome. Well, you guys are, from what I understand, out of Little Rock, so you're not too far down the road. You're welcome to come by what we sometimes call the Nut House, because it's a lot of crazy things that go on with the food manufacturing business. You can come see it anytime. So
Well, I can tell you, my wife will be the first one. She's actually a psychiatrist. So when you said nut house, we're on our way. We'll fit in.
she'll fit right in. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned MBAs. So when you started that program, did you start with the end in mind that it was for entrepreneurship?
Not at all. No. I got my undergraduate degree from the University of Arkansas in 2014, and that degree was in agricultural business. I thought that I would go work for kind of a bigger company. There's so many big Fortune 500 companies here in Northwest Arkansas. I thought I'd end up at one of those and just kind of, work my way up the proverbial corporate ladder, and found out that wasn't really what I wanted to do. I was also at the time somewhat pursuing a career in professional running. Was trying to qualify for the Olympic marathon trials, and ended up having a couple injuries and illnesses that kept me from accomplishing that goal. But so I was like, okay, what do I want to do? I want to do something that feels really meaningful and something that I feel like I can make an impact on this community. And so I made the decision to go back to get my MBA to partially buy me some time to figure out what I wanted to do. Um, and so while I was in that program, that's when I actually met Startup Junkie, which is a consulting firm out of Northwest Arkansas. They are funded through governmental grants, so they're able to provide free consulting for business owners and people that think they might want to be an entrepreneur. So I came to them and said, "Hey, I want to start a company, but I don't really know how. I've got an idea in mind, which at the time was a chocolate covered peanut butter product, like a gourmet Reese's peanut butter cup that was a recipe that was my grandma's, that we had made. We get together for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and I'd make them, and uh, I had handed some of those out to some of my friends and just people around me, and they're like, "Why don't you sell these? These are really good." And I was like, "I don't know anything about the food business." And so yeah, through the MBA program, I was kind of finishing that program and figuring all this out at the same time. And ultimately, Startup Junkie was like, "Man, you're not married. You're still living at home with your parents to save money so you can go through the MBA program. This is the perfect time to start a business." So they gave me the kick in the butt, and so I said, "Okay, we'll do it."
Yeah. Wow. Well, congratulations. So, and this is where my wife says that you are projecting yourself onto others. So forgive me if I'm doing that. So take me through, because I'm reliving this. Take me through that step, that one step that's like the day that you said, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, so um, for me, it was kind of several little steps that led up to one big step. I had various conversations with my dad and my grandma and my brother. My brother was at the time working an internship with Tyson Foods, and he still had another year and a half of his undergrad to get through to graduate. And so I knew that I wanted to ultimately work with him and bring him on the team, but I also knew that it was going to take a little bit of time to get him, potentially full time. Um, so over that year and a half, we made, just had a lot of different conversations. The big step was when one day I came home and I told my dad I'd bought a $5,000 chocolate tempering machine. And he said, "You did what?" And I said, "Well, I'm all in." That's, to me, that was just about all I had at the time. And uh, I think I remember he kind of turned pale white and was just like, "I can't believe you did that, Austin." It was like, I've got to take that leap of faith at some point. And so yeah, that's kind of the point that I remember of when everybody knew I was really serious and I was going to try and make something out of this.
Yeah. So there was that financial investment, and it's just
Yeah.
I'm in now. I can't, no
Yeah.
turning back. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, to a lot of people, 5,000 would be like, okay, that's no big deal. To me, that was like everything.
Yeah.
And I still see 5,000 as a lot because I'm generally a saver and kind of frugal with money, but yeah, that was a big step.
Yeah. Yeah. So you get the equipment, and then what was the next phase that came through? Because I know there's like a series of things that you probably went through, but how was that? How did you progress?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any particular best sequence of steps that someone needs to take to start a business because you're really just you're figuring it out day by day. For me, it was okay. I've got this equipment. I then was figuring out where I'm getting the chocolate from. I'm getting a good vendor of that. I was at the same time while I was waiting on the machinery to show up, I was learning how to watching a bunch of videos on how to temper chocolate correctly.
Mhm.
The first few times I did it was a disaster, and just you've got to get it to set right. And yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. At the same time, I was also trying to figure out how do I set up an LLC for a company, and do I need to get trademarks, and I've got to get a logo figured out, and um, that it was all of a sudden here I was juggling 10 different plates at once and trying
Mm.
to figure out which ones need to come before other ones. And so it was a lot. It was like, drinking out of a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Just uh, really just trying to figure out the best that I could.
Yeah, when I started my business up, that's one of the things I remember was the plate spinning, and now, as a professional, I call it task prioritization. But back then that was plate spinning. So
Right. Yeah.
it's, yeah, just which one's wobbling and about to fall, go spin that one. Yeah. So I want to take a step back because you had mentioned running.
Yeah.
So is there the process of training to do the running? Do you have a connection on how you operate your business now based on how you trained yourself and goals and things like that?
Oh, I mean, 100%. I grew up playing sports, mainly basketball was kind of my first sport love. I played up and through ninth grade, and then through my eighth and ninth grade year, I was also running track and cross country, and found out that I just had kind of a hidden talent with that, and I was just I was good at it, and I really enjoyed it. After maybe the first couple of races, because at first it was like, well, this just hurts. I don't understand why anybody would want to do this. And the more I did it, the more I fell in love with it. But yeah, the discipline that I learned from structured training has paid dividends with this business. I feel like it was, kind of God's way of showing me, okay, I've got something for you in the future, and you need to learn some of these lessons now. And yeah, there's days where I just didn't want to do it. I did not want to go out and run. I didn't want to go out or I had a 15-mile run by myself, and you just got to put your head down and do it. And there's some times with business where it feels the same way. And so I lean on that experience of just kind of the daily grind of, and no pun intended there, of just getting through some of the tougher times, and realizing that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel of something better to come. So it has definitely trained me to be mentally tough. It's trained me to be able to push myself when I think a lot of people would have given up. So I'm extremely grateful for that part of my life.
Yeah, that's one of the things that when I talk to people, perseverance is one of those it's you just got to push, you just got to go, and there's lots of times, like, if you're running, it's just one more step. It's just one more step, and that's I'm glad you had some type of introduction to pushing yourself to the limits, because I'm sure you're like me, that there's probably days that you just don't get a lot of sleep. You just got to get up and go after it again. So,
And well, my favorite event, and I kind of wish I jokingly say I wish I'd been a 100-meter dash guy, because it's over in 10 seconds or less. But God did not bless me with those kind of muscles. I'm not that fast sprint wise. I went the opposite way. I'm kind of my favorite event is the marathon, and a lot of people go, oh gosh, that's so boring. How do you run so long? And it's just doing the next right thing, putting one foot in front of the other, knowing that when you start that race, there's going to be times where you want to quit. And there's times where you just feel awful and things are not going right. And to this point, I've done 2 marathons, and both of them have been, times where I've gone through miles of just not wanting to continue. And that has just, to me, so symbolic of a small business, where you have days where, quite frankly, you want to quit. You're like, okay, I don't know why I'm doing this. Nobody really cares about this. But then you get through it and you're like, okay, I'm so glad I got through that. And,
yeah.
and, there's, you always remember your why. So, yeah,
So let's kind of go along the let's call it adversity, right? We're looking at, from a business standpoint, when you have faced adversity in whatever form it is, how did you or your team handle that?
One of the first things that comes to mind, and this was one of the worst days I've had since starting this business, was we actually had somebody had hacked into our internal computer system and gotten access to our email, and they had disguised themselves as one of our suppliers. In particular, looked just like our supplier, and said, if you pay this off in the next 5 days, then we'll give you a 3% or 4% discount. And so you can do the math on that. On $30,000, it's a sizable chunk of money, and so I got all excited. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome, great, yeah, we've got the cash in hand. Let's do that. It'll save us, you know, cash flow is critical, so it it put us in a little bit of a tight spot for a little bit, but overall in the end, it was great because we saved a little bit of money. At least we thought we were going to. Um, my actual supplier emailed me about 2 weeks later and said, "Hey, I never got your payment." And uh, I go, "What do you mean? We wired that to you?" And it turned out it was a scam, and so we lost almost $30,000.
Mm.
And um, I uh, the first thought I had somebody once tell me that sometimes the most successful people in business are not the smartest ones or that they have the best, most innovative ideas. The ones that can persevere through anything that a lot of other people would give up on. And so I kind of kept reminding myself that this was one of those trials that I just had to find a way to it. And we got really, really, really tight with cash because of that. And thankfully, our supplier was able to, um, kind of let us pay it in payments over time. But yeah, it's just perseverance, staying in the game. If you don't stay in the game, then you can't win ultimately. So um, that was a really hard time.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you got past that. Um, so is there, I guess my thought while you were sharing that was how would you prevent that going forward? I mean, how do you,
Yeah, I mean, I double check emails. If there's anything, it has made me super, super cautious with
mm,
any kind of, upfront discounts that somebody may be offering. I'll pick up the phone and call my supplier at that point.
mm,
And I learned a lot through it. It's super painful to spend 30 grand and to learn a lesson, but um,
mm,
there's a lot of kind of checks and balances we put into place after that.
mm,
Ultimately, you can never be 100% safe from um, all mistakes, or people are just kind of, they have malicious intent, and some of these scams and things are getting incredibly real looking, and
yeah.
it is harder and harder to decipher what's real and what's not. And it's just, I think, um, I wish I would have taken more time to kind of slow down and go back, and I wish I would have called my supplier and said, "Hey,
Mm,
they had never offered that before." And when I finally did have a conversation, they said, "Well, we don't ever offer any kind of early payment discounts. That is just not a policy that we have. We try to give you the best price we can up front." And so, yeah, I mean, through every single tough situation, there's always a lesson that you can learn.
So, the message I'm hearing is communication and clarity of communication. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So now let's flip this, that's the stories we hate to hear, stories we hate to hear. So now let's kind of go to success. Tell me when you had a success that kind of like, okay, we're legit. We're gonna do this. This is happening. Kind of when was share with.
yeah. Yeah, so I'll quickly touch on two. I like to, for every one negative thing, I like to try and think of two positive things. So
Okay.
one of them was when we first got into our the the email that got saying, "Hey, we're going to be in 170 stores in Walmart, and you got 4 items in," and that was just an incredible moment. That was um, really validating. Okay, we're moving in the right direction, and that's has continued to be an awesome account for us, and we've loved partnering with Walmart. The second one was we actually worked with a company. We've sold some product to food banks across the U.S., and this company was our our first company where we were able to move full truckloads of peanut butter, which was a massive, massive step for us. And because we'd been moving, multiple pallets on orders, but 5 to 10 pallets on the order was not uncommon. But this was 20 full pallets on a single order. So about 40,000 pounds of peanut butter on the truck. And
Wow.
these guys not only were moving the most with us we'd ever moved, but they were willing to pay us up front. So
Mm.
that was really cool. It is an awesome partnership that we're still working with those guys. And so, just moments like that, it kind of reminds you like, okay, those tough times again, it would have been so easy to say, gosh, $30,000 gone. I probably should just fold up shop and go home, but
Yeah.
get through it, and there's bigger things on the other side. So
Yeah. Wow. That's great. That's an inspiring story.
yeah.
So, kind of continuing on the success theme, have you had some mentors either in your industry or any kind of mentors that you lean on for support, for guidance?
And one of my biggest cringe things I hear from entrepreneurs is people that are talking about um, how much they've done by themselves, or you hear all these articles of self-made
Mhm.
billionaires or millionaires. I really hate that because I would not be, and I don't believe there's any entrepreneur that gets to where they are without the help of tens of people, sometimes hundreds of people. And in my case, it's probably been hundreds of people. And I've got a couple of 3 or 4 mentors that I lean on all the time, and um, just absolutely love getting information from them. Learning from their expertise and their experience that they've had.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm always looking for people that are a couple steps ahead of where I'm at because they've already done it. I don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel on a lot of this stuff. I just
Mhm.
need to learn from people that have done it. And um, yeah, hopefully I can be that mentor for somebody or somebody's down the road, because there's uh, and just
Oh, did we lose him? Oh no, I think we lost. I think we lost him. Hang on, folks. We lost Austin. Man, I hope he comes back. That was a. It's been a great interview. Come on, Austin. Come on back. He's I can get him back. Come back. Oh, his computer died. Yeah, his computer died. He's working to get it back up. Uh, Oh, here he comes. There you are.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
No, not
my
a
computer
problem.
just randomly died on me, and gosh, I
Yeah.
I'm very sorry about that.
No, it's not a problem at all. It's not a problem. Don't worry about it. All
I
right.
hope.
So mentors. So you've got a few that you like to lean on.
Yeah,
So what I'm hearing is collaboration. You like to collaborate with others.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's kind of it's a balance of you can spend so much time collaborating that you don't spend enough time getting things done, and you can also spend so much time trying to get things done that you're not spending enough time collaborating. Um, Having freedom and headspace of
Mhm.
what do I need to get done next? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that you kind of it's kind of a fine balancing act.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm big on collaboration. I work with a team of people where we all serve a client, but we serve in different ways. And that having those people that have that different lens, it to me is what brings power to each of us. We all have
Right.
the lenses that we look through. So I'm with you on the mentors. I think that's fantastic that you're doing that. So
Yeah.
um, share with me a little bit about the future. What does it look like? And I'm not going to say in 25 or 30 years, but let's 3 to 5 years kind of time frame. What do you see for your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it can be a really hard one for founders and company owners to try and figure out their path. I have spent a lot of 2023 growing our manufacturing capabilities. So we produce all of our stuff in-house in Fayetteville. We've got about a 9,000 square foot building that we work out of, and I've put significant capital in 23 into machinery. Um, and The biggest reason for that, well, two biggest reasons, is to get our cost of goods down, but then also our volume capabilities up, so that we can handle accounts that are full truckloads or half truckloads, because that's something we couldn't touch in the past. So we will be continuing to grow manufacturing capabilities through 24, and also at the same time trying to grow partnerships with retailers, food service,
Mm.
um, places like food banks, all those different outlets, that we can kind of diversify our revenue sources across the next, call it 2 or 3 years. And so, um, one thing I will say, when we started, I was told by so many people, if you need to start a business, you need to grow it and have it acquired for a whole ton of money, and that's what you need to do. And I said, okay, I'll go try and do that. And that is incredibly hard, and the number of companies that are acquired for these, astronomical amounts of money is very, very small.
Mm.
And while I still think that is possible, my goal of why I am running the company has changed over the last couple of years, of not just to a business, own business. Um, I've kind of fallen in love with being able to solve problems, and I call myself a professional problem solver. Um, and so I can see myself running this, as long as I'm having fun with it. And the the landscape of our economic environment has changed a lot from, uh, I don't know, grow at all costs, don't worry about profitability, just grow revenue as much as possible, exponential growth, to are you profitable? And the tried and true business model of profitable companies can run indefinitely. They can run forever if they wanted to, as long as they're profitable. And um, so I don't know, that's pretty exciting to me. I'm
Yeah.
aggressive on growth, but I also want to, if I can run it profitably, I could do this forever, really. So
Yeah. So it sounds like you're a process guy. You know, you have processes in place in order for things to happen. So the other day I was listening to a podcast. It was a sports podcast, and so this conversation, what you were just telling me, reminded me of this podcast. And on that podcast, they were talking. The two guys that were talked about Nick Saban retiring, and they talked about Bill Belichick and how they were friends, how they were actually very close friends. And they said that both of them on interviews, they asked them, you know, about was your year, every year, was your goal to win the national championship, or was your goal to win the Super Bowl? And both of them had the same answer: was our goal was never to win the national championship. Our goal was to have a process in place and to follow the process flawlessly. He said, so the
yep.
not being focused on the end result, it's about the process. And if you follow the process and do the things, then the result will be that you know, get where you want to go. So I remembered that interview when you were talking about that focusing on one thing doesn't get it done. So your processes is what works. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I was told looking at the end goal was kind of the reason of why you're doing it, and that's what you need to focus on. When in reality, if I have somebody that comes to me this morning to start a company, I'll tell them, if you can have a really solid foundation and you can have good processes in place,
Mm,
then all these other things that you're wanting to accomplish will be a byproduct of those things. And
yeah.
uh, it's really hard sometimes to get those processes right and to be able to stay in the day-to-day kind of mundane tasks.
Hmm.
Um, but if you can do that, and you'll be pretty cool to happen.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been great. I've actually enjoyed this conversation. I know we could keep going on that, but we're going to have to wrap it up. We're running out of time. So I am grateful that you agreed to be on the podcast. So you still with me? I think you're breaking up on me. Oh, think.
Yeah, it's gotten really glitchy here.
Okay. Yeah.
There we
Yeah.
go. Now I think you're back now.
Okay. No, I wanted to thank you for your time. This has been a great conversation. I've enjoyed getting to know you and your business. So thank you
Yeah,
very much for being on the podcast.
absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So before we go, if you would mind sharing where people can find your products. I know you mentioned Walmart.
Yep. Yeah. So people can go to our website, www.naturalwayfoodgroup.com. You can learn, more about the company, more about the products. We've got both peanut and almond butters that we sell. We're the only nut butter company that uses olive oil with ours for health and sustainability reasons.
Mhm.
Um, as far as retail stores go, you can find it at Safeway, Albertsons. You can find it at Sprouts nationwide. You can find it at Central Market if you're down in Texas. You can find it at Whole Foods in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. There's Walmart's also in that Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas region. Um, that's that's going to be the high majority of where you can find it. If you're in the Northwest Arkansas area, you can find it at Harps, Ozark Natural Foods. Those would be kind of some of the local stores that we're in. But yeah, yeah.
Okay. And this question is for my wife. What about Amazon?
Oh yes, sorry, yes, Amazon. You can find it on Amazon. Um, Yeah, we have all of our products on Amazon. It's been
Okay.
a big part of our growth, and we've grown quite a base and following on Amazon. So, yep.
Okay. She'll be happy because I was going to get interrogated if I didn't ask that question.
Yep, you can buy